Okay, so we're going to talk about Hezekiah. Hezekiah, in the third, blah, 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 blah. He was 25 years old. He became king, and he reigned, blah, 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 blah. He did what was right in the eyes of the Lord. Just like David. When the Bible goes all the way back to David, it's like, oh man, this guy was a really good king. He was as good as David. He did what was right. He removed all the high places that they worshipped idols on. He smashed all the idols, the sacred stones. He cut down all the big wooden idols. And he even went so far as to, none of the kings had done this yet. There was this bronze snake that Moses had, which was really cool because Moses had it and God actually made him make it. And it would help them one time when they were sick. They were to look at it and they were to get better, which is kind of cool. So it's kind of like it's something in a museum or whatever. It'd be really cool. But they actually turned it into an idol and started worshiping the snake instead of the God that had Moses make the snake. So he even smashed that. He's like, no, we're not going to do that no more. It's only God. God only, God only. None of these idols. So Hezekiah, thumbs up. Hezekiah's awesome. He held fast to the Lord and did not cease from following. He kept all the commandments the Lord had given him. All right, so what do you think is going to happen? War, famine, death, pestilence? No. And the Lord was with him. He was successful, whatever he undertook. What happens? We have success when we serve the Lord. All right, so it's kind of fun. There is this king from Assyria. He comes to... Now, there's just a really small amount of people of Israel left because there's been lots of wars. A lot of them have been taken captive. A lot of them are prisoners now. But there's still some of them that are left, right? So the king of Assyria comes and he's at the wall and he's just totally doing this thing we call trash talk. Okay, you do it on the basketball court. You do it, you talk trash. It's like, your mommy wears army boots. There's no way you can beat me. I'm so much stronger. I'm so much awesomer. Stuff like that. So he was coming up and he's like, I'm from Assyria. Assyria's awesome. We beat everybody. We kick everybody's butt. We're going to come in. We're going to totally destroy all you guys. Just to let you know, you're fixing to die. And he's over there. He's just talking about all of his strong guys and all of his horses, all of his chariots, and the people that are on the wall. He went to the wall and he's telling them all this. And the people are like, could you please speak to us in Aramaic so the people will understand? Quit talking in Hebrew. And he's like, what? You don't want the people to hear? You scared, huh? You scared? And the commander replied, was it only your master? Let's see. Hebrew, hearing the people. What did he say? The commander stood and called, hear the word. He stood louder and spoke it in Hebrew just to tick off the people. He said, here, do not let Hezekiah deceive you. He cannot deliver you out of my hands. And then he crosses the line. I would never cross this line. He crosses the line. And he tells them, I'm going to come. I'm going to eat all your grapes. I'm going to eat all your bread. I'm going to cut down all your olive trees. I'm going to eat all your honey. Choose life or do not choose death. You do not listen to Hezekiah. And then this is where he crosses the line. Where are the gods of all the other nations? Right? They were not able to save all the other nations. I kicked all their butts. None of their gods helped. And your God can't help either. How then can your God deliver Jerusalem from my hand and from me? Is there a difference between God and between idols? So all those pieces of wood and rocks were not able to save those people from me. Boy, my head is really shiny. We're not able to save them. So how is your God going to be able to save you people? Now, Is God different than rocks and wood? Yes. So Hezekiah is pretty scared though, because King of Syria has tons of stuff, and Hezekiah, they've been sinning and this nation's been not serving God for so long. They've been kind of getting smaller, and they've been getting beat up. So Hezekiah goes and he goes to pray. He says, "This is a day of distress. It may be that the Lord your God will hear." So the king of Assyria has sent and ridiculed. This is he's talking to like the guys that came in and gave him the news. He says, "The king of Assyria has ridiculed the living God." Okay, so it'd be like a little first grader, kindergartner, going up to a big gigantic like The Rock or a wrestler, right? He'd stomp and kicking him in the shin and say, "I'm going to beat you up." But like times a billion, because he's God, right? So Hezekiah realizes, he says, that king of Assyria is not very smart. The king of Assyria has come and he's ridiculed the living God, not statues, not idols, not pieces of wood, not rock. He's ridiculed the living God. The Lord your God has heard. He has heard. And therefore I'm going to pray. And he goes and he prays that the remnant, which means just a little bit that's left, will survive. And he goes and he prays, and he says, this is see, he goes and he prays, and then let's see, I'll get ahead of myself here. Alright, so he goes and he prays, and then the king, the Lord actually helps out there for a second. The king of Assyria, he has to go back to his own country to fight another war, but he sends a letter. He sends a letter to Hezekiah and says, "Hey, don't think I forgot about you." He says, "Surely you've heard what the kings of Assyria have done to all the countries. They have destroyed them completely. And we're going to come destroy you. Don't think that your God can deliver you. Did the gods of the other nations deliver them?" Right? So now Hezekiah has this letter. So the king of Assyria had left, but he wrote him a letter. Says, "Oh, don't you think that you got out of it? I'm going to come back." You know, it's like he had to go home and eat supper, but he's going to come back and beat him up after supper, something like that. But he wrote him a letter. So now Hezekiah has this letter. So Hezekiah goes and he lays the letter. He goes into the temple and he lays the letter out before the Lord, right? And he's getting serious about his prayer now. And Hezekiah received the letter from the messenger and read it. And then he went to the temple of the Lord. He spread it out before the Lord. And Hezekiah prayed to the Lord, "O God, God of Israel, enthroned between the cherubim, you alone are God over all the nations of the earth. You made heaven, you made earth. Give ear, O Lord, hear me. Open your eyes, O Lord, listen to me. Listen to the words. Listen to these insults. This guy has insulted the living God. Listen to what he's talking about. He's talking about you." He said, "I know," and this is what he said. He said, "God, it's true. This Assyrian king, he has laid waste to all the other nations. All right? And their gods were not able to help them." He said, "But their gods were not gods. They were only wood and stone, fashioned by men's hands. Now, O Lord, our God, deliver us from his hand, so that all the kingdoms of the earth will know that you are alone our God. You are a real God, and you alone are God." So God sent Isaiah the prophet to go tell him. And Isaiah the prophet said, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, has said. He's giving you an answer to your prayer." All right? And concerning what this king has said. And God says, "Will he insult and blaspheme me? Has he had so much pride that he's lifted his eyes against the Holy One? Has he heaped insults on the Lord?" Okay? And he says, "This is the sign, O Hezekiah. The next 3 years, you're not even going to have to plant. You're just going to eat fruit. Food's just going to pop up out of the ground without you even having to plant any. That's going to happen in the third year. 3 years from now, you're going to have farms all around you, and you're going to be eating from the fields. Does that sound like a nation that's fixing to get destroyed? No, it sounds like a nation that's fixing to prosper, right? So that's what the sign was. And he said, don't worry, the king of Assyria, he will not enter the city, or he will not shoot an arrow here. I will defend this city and save it. Alright? So, the Lord's pretty, this king that has all these chariots and thousands of men. Alright? That night, the angel, how many is the? An angel, is that plural or singular? The angel, one guy, one angel, went out and put to death 180,000 men in the Assyrian camp. So that's basically like almost all of them. When the people got up the next morning, there were dead bodies everywhere. There were all the dead bodies. So they broke camp and went home. They withdrew. And then one day when the king was in his temple worshiping his God, his two boys went in and killed him. So, all that trash talk about how will God save you? Yes, the answer is yes, God will save us. And you shouldn't talk bad about God. So, alright, you guys have a good night. Love you.